Immediately following our opening prayer, we will pause for a moment to make memorial on behalf of one of our former members. Let us pray. O Lord, we give thanks for the bounty of our province, our land, our resources, and our people. We pledge ourselves to act as good stewards on behalf of all Albertans. Amen. Harry Leinweber passed away March the 18th, 1992. He represented the constituency of Medicine Hat for the Social Credit Party, was first elected in the January 19th, 1961 by-election, re-elected in 1963 and 1967 in those general elections, and served this legislature until 1971. Rest eternal grant unto him, O Lord, and let light perpetual shine upon him. Amen.
Introduction of visitors. Presenting petitions.
Member for Edmonton Avonmore.
Mr. Speaker, I would ask to present petitions on behalf of constituents and citizens in Edmonton asking that sexual orientation be included as a protected category in the Individual Rights Protection Act.
Edmonton Goldbar.
Mr. Speaker, I beg leave to present a petition from the professional staff members of the Terra School urging the Legislative Assembly of Alberta to accord favorable consideration to Resolutions 226-91 adopted by teacher representatives at the Emergent Representative Assembly of the Alberta Teachers Association on September 28, 1991.
Reading and receiving petitions.
McKnight.
That the petition which I presented yesterday on behalf of St. Bede's teachers be read and received.
Clerk.
We, the undersigned, as professional staff members of St. Bede's School, urge the Legislative Assembly of Alberta to accord favorable consideration to the following resolution, adopted by teacher representatives at the Emergent Representative Assembly of the Alberta Teachers Association on September 28, 1991. Be it resolved that the Alberta Teachers Association return to negotiations with the government with a view to concluding a new agreement in which A, teachers and the government jointly contribute the full amount of all future service costs to the Teachers' Retirement Fund. B, the government assumes full responsibility for the total unfunded liability related to past service costs and adopts an acceptable plan for retiring that debt. C, the government amends the TRF Act to provide full cost of living adjustments to pensions. And D, the other changes incorporated in the May 4th, 1991 Memorandum of Understanding are retained.
Thank you.
Presenting reports by standing and special committees. Notices of motions.
Right.
Speaker, I give notice that after question period today, I will rise under Standing Order 40 to seek unanimous consent of the Assembly to consider the following motion. Be it resolved that the Legislative Assembly express its sympathy to the Kurdish community regarding the recent killings of members of the Kurdish community in Turkey. And I do have copies for all members.
Introduction of bills.
Member for Edmonton Meadowlark, Bill 219.
Take leave to introduce a bill being the Energy Efficiency Management Administration Act, Bill number 219. It's a bill that would shift the energy efficiency branch from the Department of Energy to the Department of Environment, where it should more properly be.
The honourable member for Edmonton Meadowlark has moved first reading to Bill 219, Energy Efficiency Management Administration Act. Those in favour of first reading, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number 219, Energy Efficiency Management Administration Act, introduced by the honourable member, Mr. Mitchell, is now read a first time.
Member for Calgary Foothills.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I request leave to introduce Bill number 266, the Business Corporations Amendment Act. Mr. Speaker, if this act is passed, it will provide for a better monitoring of the receivership process for businesses and companies by expediting receivership proceedings so as to serve in the best interests of Albertans.
The honourable member for Calgary Foothills has moved first reading to Bill 266, Business Corporation Amendment Act. Those in favour of first reading, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number 266, Business Corporation Amendment Act, introduced by the honourable member, Mrs. Black, is now read a first time.
Member for Wainwright.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I request leave to introduce Bill number 268, the Ethanol Strategy Act. The purpose of this act is to encourage the province to develop a comprehensive strategy for the use of ethanol in our fuels.
The honourable member for Wainwright has moved first reading to Bill 268, Ethanol Strategy Act. Those in favour of first reading, please say aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number 268, Ethanol Strategy Act, introduced by the honourable member, Mr. Fisher, is now read a first time.
Creek.
Speaker, I request leave today to introduce Bill 259, Service Dogs Act. The purpose of this legislation, Mr. Speaker, is to extend to handicapped persons who make use of service dogs the same protections and provisions that are provided for currently to the blind and their seeing eye dogs with respect to public transportation and other public facilities.
Good idea.
The honourable member for Calgary Fish Creek has moved first reading to Bill 259, Service Dogs Act. Those in favour of first reading, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. So ordered.
Bill number 259, Service Dogs Act, introduced by the honourable member, Mr. Payne, is now read a first time. Tabling returns and reports.
Minister of Agriculture.
Mr. Speaker, I am tabling three reports today. Firstly, the 1991 annual report of the Alberta Veterinary Medical Association. Secondly, the 1991 annual report of the Farmers Advocate of Alberta. And thirdly, the 1990-91 annual report of the Agricultural Development Corporation.
Calgary McCall.
Mr. Speaker, I have the privilege today to present to you in the House the 1990-91 annual report of the Alberta Alcohol and Drug Abuse Commission.
Calgary Glenmore.
Speaker, I'd like to table the Chartered Accountants of Alberta annual 1991 report and the Certified Management Accountants annual 90 91 report as well. This has already been circulated, Mr. Speaker, to members of the Assembly previously through your office. Thank you.
Associate Minister of Agriculture.
Speaker, it is my pleasure to table the 23rd Annual Report of the Alberta Hail and Crop Insurance Corporation for the year ended March 31st, 1991.
Minister of Culture, Multiculturalism.
I have here the 89-90 Alberta Art Foundation Annual Report, the Annual Report of the Glenbow Alberta Institute for 1990-91, and the 1990-91 Annual Report of the Alberta Historic Resources Foundation. I'd like to table those. I'd also like to file with the Assembly copies of a letter that I sent to Horst Olenek, who is the chairman of the Alberta Multiculturalism Advisory Council. This letter outlines the government's strong commitment to multicultural objectives in the present and future.
Minister.
I'd like to table the annual report of the Alberta Special Waste Management Corporation.
Here I beg leave to table a number of letters from students raising questions regarding the healthcare training stipend.
Introduction of special guests.
Edmonton Highlands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my pleasure to introduce to the Assembly today 26th grade 6 students from the Montrose Elementary School, which is in the riding that I represent. They're accompanied by their teachers, Phil Booth and Wendy Dumont. I should add, Mr. Speaker, I met with them about half an hour ago, and I would suggest to you that this group of students has enough collective energy to keep the lights on in this place for about a year. I'd ask them to rise and receive the warm welcome of the Assembly.
Material statements. Oral question period.
Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to continue with waste and mismanagement coming from this government, Mr. Speaker. It's very ironic, Mr. Speaker, that today TELUS, the former money-making part of Alberta government telephones, announced profits of $183 million. Of course, this is owned now by private investors. Mr. Speaker, last time we had information more than a year ago, our white elephant, Novotel, had cost taxpayers over $200 million. And as far as we know, the red ink is still flowing. Mr. Speaker, last month, the government said that they were going to make a decision very soon on the future of Novotel. My question to the Minister of Technology, Research and Telecommunications is simply this. Given that 4 weeks have now passed since this task force was appointed, will the Minister of Technology now tell this House what the government plans to do with Novotel?
Mr. Speaker, I'm glad the Leader of the Opposition raised the matter of TELUS's success as a privatized company, and indeed I think all taxpayers should be pleased as well that the privatization of TELUS brought $500 million to the taxpayers' bottom line. With respect to Novotel, Mr. Speaker, a management committee was put in place in order to plan for the divestiture of this company. Discussions have been ongoing for some time. They are still ongoing, and when an announcement is ready to be made, I will make it.
Meanwhile, the taxpayers lose millions and millions and millions, Mr. Speaker.
Right.
And, Mr. Speaker, while they're sitting around doing nothing, I want to ask the minister simply this question, because he's bragging about TELUS. Everybody expected it to make money, Mr. Speaker. But doesn't this minister really see the injustice of TELUS reporting $183 million in profits while taxpayers are picking up the white elephant Novotel? Doesn't he see something wrong with that, Mr. Speaker?
Right on.
Right on. As I indicated, Mr. Speaker, the privatization of TELUS netted close to $500 million to the taxpayers of Alberta. It also removed about $1.5 billion of loan guarantees and other debts that were previously existing. The TELUS privatization was a very much success for the taxpayers of Alberta, and we would hope that the news with respect to Novotel would be coming along soon.
Well, we know that it's coming out soon, Mr. Speaker, and we know we're going to lose millions more. That's the reality of it, Mr. Speaker. That's right. And how this minister can talk about the great deal when we're losing millions, I just can't believe it, Mr. Speaker. But I'll try another tack, Mr. Speaker. The government supposedly now believes in freedom of information, Mr. Speaker. My question now to the minister, in this new spirit of freedom of information, will the minister table for Alberta taxpayers Novatel's financial statements for 1990 and make public the company's financial results for 1991?
Mr. Speaker, with respect to the matter of 1991 financial statements for the company, they're audited by the Auditor General, and as soon as we receive those statements, we will table them to the House in the normal course as required. With respect to the 1990, the moment that we got information with respect to the losses and the write-offs that occurred, which were extraordinary in that case, we disclosed that information publicly. That information is out there, and we will be filing the audited statements from the Auditor General just as soon as convenient and appropriate.
Main question, Leader of the Opposition.
For who?
Yeah, for this.
Exactly. Mr. Speaker, my second question is to the Attorney General. Mr. Speaker, I want to deal with a serious ethics problem. Mr. Speaker, we learned today that after promising publicly to turn over money in a secret slush fund to his constituency association, the Minister of Education decided instead to give this money to charity. Now, we're glad that charity gets money, Mr. Speaker, but what the minister is effectively doing is avoiding disclosure and how much money was involved, Mr. Speaker. At the time when the Attorney General was meeting with him about 9 months ago, the minister said he wanted to live within the spirit and the letter of the law. Mr. Speaker, he clearly hasn't done this. My question then to the Attorney General, will the Attorney General confirm for the Assembly that the Minister of Education agreed in discussions with the Attorney General to live within the spirit of the law and turn the funds over to his constituency association?
Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, the Minister of Education is not here today, but I can confirm with the honourable member that in our conversations of approximately 9 months ago, I advised Mr. Dinning to get rid of the fund. He didn't need the headache of it being around. He was not doing anything illegal at that time with the fund. He did say that he would get rid of it. As I understand it, he took legal advice, not from the Attorney General. The Attorney General is the government's lawyer, not an individual's lawyer, that in fact his association could not receive these funds because they could not be receipted funds. And on that basis, he made a decision to disperse them to charities, and I believe he has confirmed the two charities that received the money.
Mr. Speaker, we have these rules of disclosure for a purpose, Mr. Speaker. That's right. And my question flowing to the Attorney General is that politicians' words should be sacrosanct, Mr. Speaker. Is it not true? By doing this, we will not know how much money was involved, and it will not be publicly disclosed. He's effectively gone around it, Mr. Speaker.
That's right.
Mr. Speaker, I believe, again, it would be better from the member's mouth himself that he is quite willing to give the receipts from the charities that received the cash. And in fact, when the law provides that you cannot give the money to your association, I think it is quite great of the member to, in fact, choose two charities and pass that money through to them.
Mr. Speaker, it's not the charities that are the question, Mr. Speaker. It's the reality of an act of disclosure, Mr. Speaker. This is a serious matter. Then my question then to the Attorney General, Mr. Speaker, we will be having an ethics commissioner come on fairly soon. Mr. Speaker, would the Attorney General then assure the House that this at least questionable behavior by the Minister of Education will be referred to the ethics commissioner when he assumes his post next week?
Good idea.
Mr. Speaker,
This type of event would certainly be taken up by the Commissioner under the new Act. We don't have that person in office yet. The member has informed me, as of this morning, that he in fact has referred the matter to the incoming Ethics Commissioner, but I might put this proviso on it that I doubt that the Ethics Commissioner, once he is appointed, would have the ability to look into it. The Minister has done absolutely everything within his means to ensure that this thing is very public and that people such as the charities have received the funds and is trying to live within even the spirit of the Conflict of Interest Act.
Leader of the Liberal Party, Edmonton Glengarry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my question relates to the issue of sexual assault offenses, and more particularly to the easy release of offenders involving sexual offenses. There is fear and there is anger, particularly in the Edmonton community, because of a recent sexual offense with respect to the issue of this easy release. My question to the Attorney General is this. I know he's had an opportunity to review this matter. Would he give us his assessment of the matter of easy release relating to sexual offenses?
Mr. Speaker, I certainly concur with the honourable member's assessment that a sexual offence alleged or in reality happening is indeed a very, very serious matter. I've expressed that seriousness. The Criminal Code provides when a person is detained or arrested on an item for two ways of getting it before the court in terms of whether they're going to be incarcerated or not. One is called an appearance notice and one is called a bail application. And within the discretion of the arresting officer, he can use the appearance notice, which in this particular instance was done. I expressed my concern and asked that it be looked into, and I can confirm with the House that the Edmonton City Police have confirmed to me that they have addressed all of the conditions that are before them in using an appearance notice and feel that they have acted properly in this matter. I guess when the matter comes before the court, we will have the opportunity at that time to know what the evidence is and each person have their own judgment.
Mr. Speaker, I think we're limited in our ability to discuss this case. It's before the courts. My question was much more broad. It was the issue of easy releases, the issue of easy releases relating to sexual offenders. This thing has gone too far. What can we do to tighten it up, and what are you doing?
Mr. Speaker, I guess it was by implication, and I should spell it out more clearly, that there are two ways when somebody is apprehended as to addressing their incarceration. One is through the use of an appearance notice. These are spelled out incidentally in the Criminal Code, which happens to be a federal statute. The other is to arrest, incarcerate, and bring the accused before a judge and have the details without prejudice to the case brought forward so a judge could adjudicate on whether the person receives bail or is incarcerated. This particular instance, which is totally within the discretion of the police force, as spelled out in the Criminal Code, they looked at the conditions you should look at, first of which is, could the person be identified? Yes, easily identified. Did they think the chance of a recurrence of the offense was an issue? Obviously, they thought, on the basis of the evidence, which I can't adjudicate on at this moment, they thought so, and they used the appearance notice. So as much as I express my concern, and I have the assurance of the police force, they did look into it and consider these matters. Our hands are tied. If the honourable member would suggest that perhaps the Criminal Code should be changed so that this couldn't happen, I'd be delighted to take his recommendation.
Mr. Speaker, it's exactly that I'm trying to get at. The Sexual Assault Center in Edmonton dealt with 1,106 victims last year. They say that easy release has the potential of creating more victims in Alberta. What, Mr. Minister, are you doing either with the federal government or yourself to ensure that women can leave their homes in safety? That's all I want to know.
Thanks. I don't think that the honourable member has to try and bring it into the political arena. I have had the assurance of the Edmonton City Police that in this particular instance which we're addressing, we're not addressing the broad issue. That is another issue. In this particular issue, they did address it. I would be delighted to pass the representations of the honourable member on to the Minister of Justice, the Honourable Kim Campbell, that the Act should be changed. However, I might caution, aside from these types of offences, where in fact the appearance notice is not usually used, that by using the appearance notice, which we've even suggested the police use in non-serious offences, we can accommodate a saving in what we spend in the justice system, which I also think the Wallet waiver was very, very adamant on doing.
Concerns exist with respect to the Canada Student Loan Program, and in particular the default ratio, the cost of an administration fee, and the requirements placed on the number of courses that a student must take and the student's performance. Mr. Speaker, I understand that the Minister of Advanced Education recently met with his provincial counterparts and the federal minister. Can the minister advise the House as to whether or not any progress was made at that meeting in resolving these issues?
Well, Mr. Speaker, as members may be aware, that 1 in every 2 students in Alberta applies for and receives student financial assistance. Major item students have raised with me is the so-called 3% administration fee or 3% tax when they apply for a student loan. We've tried for some time with the Government of Canada, Secretary of State, to have that removed. I traveled to Ottawa on the weekend, met with Mr. Decotre, and was successful in having that 3% tax on Canada student loans removed. In terms of other issues, Mr. Speaker, clearly the default of Canada student loans is a major concern to everyone. We had discussions there, and there were some recommendations as to which ways or which matters could be adopted to alter that. The final comment I'd make is with regard to course load, there was general agreement by all ministers that students in our post-secondary system to be serious about their studies and continue to access Canada student loans take an 80% course load during that school year.
Mr. Speaker, by way of a supplementary, a very general concern and a major one that also exists with the post-secondary students of the province concerns the fact that the monthly living allowance allowed under the student loan program has not been raised for a number of years. Is any action being taken with respect to making adjustments in this regard?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the number one issue with the students in Alberta has been this whole question of the weekly loan amount, which has been fixed for 7 or 8 years at $105. We continue to make strong representation because we in Alberta feel very strong that students must have adequate financial assistance if they're going to continue their studies. The federal minister informed myself as well as others that virtually his hands are tied. However, if he could adopt some type of strategy, such as using the Income Tax Act or easing the default rate, which now, Mr. Speaker, is approaching $1 billion in Canada student loans in terms of default, he would give that serious consideration. I would look forward to the federal minister announcing sometime this year on the recommendations of the provincial ministers that that weekly allowance of $105 would be increased to some realistic amount.
Edmonton Jasper Place, followed by Edmonton Goldbar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Residents of the Grand Prairie District are facing a period of uncertainty following the announcement today that Procter & Gamble's pulp mill is up for sale. and it was going to be a hard road to find a buyer, at least until such time as the Minister of the Environment discontinues his ad hoc, seat-of-the-pants negotiation strategy on pulp mill standards, all of which masquerades under the title of leading-edge technology. I wonder if the Minister has decided to replace his system in which officials stand over the shoulders of pulp mill operators and tell them what latest Swedish technology they should buy and whom they should buy it from, with a single, clear, defensible standard for environmental cleanliness for pulp mills in Alberta.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to, first of all, remind the honourable member that his brothers and sisters in British Columbia and Ontario have just taken over a hierarchy of stinking, rotten, belching, polluting pulp mills that don't in any way measure up to the standards that we have established for the province of Alberta. I would remind the honourable member once again, Mr. Speaker, that we have put in place, relative to bleached kraft pulp mills, the highest achievable standards in the world. What can be better than that?
Well, this leading-edge technology is patent nonsense, but since he does talk about British Columbia, I'm going to ask him this question. Will he go so far as the Honourable John Kishore, the Minister of the Environment in British Columbia, who announced on January 16th this year that within a decade British Columbia will have total elimination of chlorine contaminants? Total elimination.
I find it very, very interesting, Mr. Speaker, that the province of Alberta is already 4 years ahead of the province of British Columbia. Mr. Kishore also announced for the information of the honourable member that by the year 1994, they would achieve 1.5 adsorbable organic halide kilograms per air-dried ton, a standard that has been in place in this province for the last year and a half.
Edmonton Goldbar.
Mr. Speaker, once again, the government appears to be targeting students in Alberta. This time, the Department of Health doing it, cutting the training stipend to health students at NAIT, SAIT, University of Alberta, University of Calgary. I'd like to ask the Minister of Health, what's the reason for the action?
Well, Mr. Speaker, what I can say is that the program of student stipends are under review between both the Department of Advanced Education and the Department of Health. There is a major inconsistency in the fact that we have 35 health disciplines in training in Alberta, and only 16 of them receive a stipend. Even within jurisdictions like nursing, you'll have inconsistency between institutions as to who receives a stipend and who does not. The issue we're trying to address is the issue of fairness, and trying to look also at issues such as should the stipend program more appropriately be run through student finance rather than through the institution themselves. Though that review is underway, Mr. Speaker, and I would be pleased to discuss it further with the member when the budget comes down.
Mr. Speaker, thank you, but the question remains, why did the department, under these circumstances, send a directive to the hospitals dated March the 2nd and not to the educational institutions, and no consultation with the students?
Well, that's not the case. I've had meetings with several groups of students involved in stipends. It is, in many cases, the institutions who have the budget for the stipends, but certainly we are working through the issues, and no decisions have finally been made, and I'll be happy to discuss it further with the member next month when the provincial treasurer brings forward the budget.
Rocky Mountain House.
Many farmers in this province have been suffering through some very difficult times. This has been brought about by severe weather in some areas and low commodity prices throughout. When there is a bit of a light on the horizon, we suddenly learn that there is a strike out at the west coast that's causing major problem for our export. To the Minister of Agriculture,
Could you outline to this House and to the people of Alberta the exact effects of this strike and any demurrage charges that might be pending as well?
Mr. Speaker, the honourable member is very correct in that one of the terminals at Vancouver is shut down, the Alberta Wheat Pool terminal. It is the largest terminal there, handling about 25% of the grain going through the Port of Vancouver. About 40% of the grain it handles comes from Alberta, which would mean that we're losing the shipment of about 400 railway carloads of grain per day. I can't at this point in time put any value on the demurrage that it's costing, but it is certainly having a damaging effect on not only the cash flow to our farmers, but the ability of Canada to maintain its record in delivering grain to its buyers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think, and so do many farmers, that this is absolutely scandalous when 19 people can hold up that kind of shipment. What, if anything, can the minister do or is doing?
They're in the right province. This is basically a federal matter, but we can do, I would say, three things, or continue to work on three things. First of all, to press the federal government into declaring all people handling grain as essential service workers. Secondly, I think if we were to change some of the rules by which we carry out the grain business by, we would offer other options to farmers. If the farmer were receiving the transportation money instead of the railway, other modes of transportation could then be used when strikes shut down the existing one. Other ports could be used. During the last strike, we did do some shipping through the Seattle port, and maybe that should be reconsidered.
Edmonton Calder. Edmonton Calder.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this government is good at rhetoric in support of families, but in reality this is not the case. The Department of Family and Social Services has proposed directions for changing the Handicapped Children's Services Program, which will make the services more regulated, less flexible, and would mean that up to 25% of the children currently receiving services could be cut off. I'd like to ask the Minister, why has the Minister proposed directions to these children's services which are completely at odds with the recommendations of the Premier's Council and parents who need more flexible services, not less?
Good question.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the member for Edmonton Calder is being awfully presumptuous. What the minister and what the government is doing is going through the process that we often do, Mr. Speaker, a process of consultation. We have a program for handicapped children here in the province of Alberta to supplement the dollars that the Minister of Education is making available, to supplement the supports that the Minister of Health is making available. Mr. Speaker, some 6,000 families that are accessing these services. We think the program is a good one. Mr. Speaker, we recognize perhaps that there's room for additional improvement. And so I'm working very closely with parents across this province. We're working very thoroughly through a consultative process to make sure that the directions and the actions that we take in the future are the appropriate ones.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the government's own proposals is for cost sharing and needs testing, the very changes that were rejected in 1987. In view of the fact, to the Minister, in view of the fact that parents may have to institutionalize their children if they don't have access to these services, will the Minister now make a commitment to these children and their families that no child will be denied a necessary service because of cost sharing, needs testing, income testing, or asset testing?
Mr. Speaker, again, the commitment that I make is to work very closely, not only with these families, not only with the families, Mr. Speaker, and obviously they're first and foremost in terms of our consultations. We have some 50-plus meetings scheduled for across the province involving hundreds of Albertans, involving FCSS boards, involving health unit, involving advocacy groups, involving service agencies, involving Métis organizations, Indian bands. Mr. Speaker, an exhaustive list of Albertans that are being involved in this process. In fact, Mr. Speaker, we even made arrangements for the member from Edmonton Calder to come out to one of our meetings when she made the request, and it was regrettable, Mr. Speaker, that she wasn't there. I would have appreciated her input.
To Davenmore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my questions are to the Minister of Health. Mr. Speaker, almost 80% of new mothers use disposable diapers without realizing the potential health risks to their babies. For example, diapers which contain polyacrylate crystals similar to those used in tampons linked to toxic shock syndrome continue to be promoted and sold.
Shame.
It has been shown conclusively that babies are 5 times more likely to have diaper rash with disposable diapers than with cloth diapers, and in addition, trace levels of dioxins are present, even though safe levels of dioxin have never been established. My question, given the health hazards for babies, will the minister commit to moving towards eliminating their use in Alberta's hospitals, as well as informing the public of the risks they impose on their children?
Maybe you could...
That'd be BC Paul.
Order, please, the whole House. Order.
Minister of Health, please.
Mr. Speaker, with respect to this question and the one that the honourable member raised yesterday, I have already launched inquiries through the Department of Health along with National Health and Welfare with respect to consumer product and the safety of the product, because I think that the respect of those jurisdictions has to be guarded. I haven't yet made any such directive as the honourable member is suggesting with respect to hospitals, although interestingly many hospitals have chosen to switch over to reusable products just because of the cost of them through their laundry service. However, I don't have a full answer, and I will endeavour to get one for the honourable member as quickly as possible through Health and Welfare.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, due to improper usage, the 1.8 billion disposable diapers, which make up 500,000 tons of Canada's garbage each year, also pose an environmental health hazard. Failure to rinse these diapers means that bacteria and viruses, including living viruses from recently immunized babies, are sent to our landfill sites. My question, given the dangers of environmental contamination and increasing strain on our landfill sites, will the minister and her colleague, the Minister of the Environment, commit to acting to address this serious threat to the environment and the health of Albertans?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I believe that we have committed to an overall reduction in the amount of materials, disposable diapers, and all other kinds of materials that now go into our landfill. As a matter of fact, there is a national protocol, and Alberta is very, very much part of that protocol to reduce the amount of waste that goes into landfills by 50% by the year 2000. And virtually the manufacturers of all products that now find at least the containers and diaper manufacturers and so on that now products that now find their way into landfill have agreed to participate with governments in achieving this particular objective.
Mr. Speaker, the Alberta government has had a program in place for about a year now of drought assistance for southeast Alberta farmers. However, it's come to my attention, Mr. Speaker, that the government is denying this assistance to some of the farmers who have owed money or are asked for quitclaim on a fraction of their land. In other words, they're being told they get no drought assistance over the whole farm unless they quitclaim a small part of it to the government. Does the minister condone this form of blackmail?
Mr. Speaker, if the honourable member has knowledge of something like this occurring, I think he's got a responsibility on behalf of those people to bring the details in and share them with me.
very interested that the minister is interested in seeing what his people are doing out there. The name is Daniel Green, Box 64, Carmen Gate, phone number 643-2417. Can the minister promise to report on this before 1 week goes out?
If the honourable member is so kind as to send that information across the House, I will report back as soon as I have reviewed the matter.
Did the member for Westlock Sturgeon clear with that person that he was willing to have his name mentioned in public?
If you need any more, I'll bring them next week too.
Thank you very much. Take your place. Honourable member, the answer is a yes or a no. It's not another introduction to yet another matter or carrying on with embroidery work. Lesser Slave Lake. Order, please, honourable member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my understanding that Team Alberta North was extremely successful in the recently held Arctic Winter Games in Yellowknife. I congratulate all those northern athletes who are being involved. The government of Alberta has committed approximately $1 million to Slave Lake for the first ever Alberta hosting of the Alberta Winter Games in 1994. It was a hard-fought battle between many constituencies. Could the minister, or would the Minister of Tourism, Rec and Parks, indicate how this government will continue to support northern athletes to increase competition, development, and participation in the 94 Winter Games?
Good question.
Mr. Speaker, the challenge is out to the communities in northern Alberta to go from the 192 that they had in Whitehorse when they participated in 14 sports, to increase that component. The average of Northwest Territories, Yukon, and Alaska is some 300 athletes. So there is an opportunity for an expansion to take place. On top of that, there will be an opportunity to, while we were there, to invite the Russian delegation, and they will, after some negotiation, they've said they will have at least 50 athletes, 6 cultural people, and some coaches. So it will be expanded in countries too.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm glad to see that there's some expansion action happening. However, although the winning medals are not the primary focus of the Arctic Winter Games, would the minister let all Albertans know how northern Albertans fared at these games?
I'm very proud of the Alberta team, Mr. Speaker. They did very, very well. They were received in Whitehorse and displayed themselves very well in the opening ceremonies, came out as almost the top team going into it. They did receive 11 gold, 18 silver, and 19 bronze.
Everett Kingsway.
Yesterday, the Minister of Economic Development and Trade refused to answer questions both inside and outside the House about the Magnesium Company of Canada plant at High River.
Didn't hear correctly about making comments about the minister's answers or lack of answers. Just start again. Let's get going without that. Order.
Really unacceptable, given that he told reporters outside of the House that he knew the answers to the questions asked by the Leader of the Opposition. So my question to the Minister is simply this. If the Minister knows the answers, why has he refused to tell Albertans the real situation with the Magnesium Company of Canada? What is it that he's trying to hide?
Mr. Speaker, I'm more than happy to respond to the honourable member and to indicate to him that it is our desire to have full disclosure. The difficulty that we're facing is that until the transaction is completed, we don't know as to what exposure the province of Alberta will in reality be exposed to. The honourable member, in a very misleading way, suggests that we're going to be exposed to all of what we have backstopped as it relates to the Magnesium Company. This is totally untrue. What we have suggested to him, and I suggested to him in previous times during the last session, that once all of it has been finalized, we're more than happy to make all that information available, which we do on a consistent basis, whether it's through
this Legislative Assembly or in public accounts. I'm more than happy to share that information with the honourable member. I would only ask him to be patient because we cannot share information with him that we presently do not have.
Well, Mr. Speaker, if there's been no change in the situation, the minister could have said that yesterday instead of giving us the song and dance he did. Yesterday he also said, we're going to continue with these strong economic thrusts because we recognize that we've got an obligation to provide jobs for Albertans. Mr. Speaker, is MagCan situation, is that the kind of economic thrust that this government is going to perpetuate? Is that what you're saying?
Mr. Speaker, I should share with him also, and it was the last session that we released the record whereby we indicated that we have suffered some losses, but the successes are much greater than the losses. And the results of that, one only has to examine the record. Within our food processing sector, for the first time this year, our secondary manufacturing or our manufacturing sector within the food processing is greater than our primary agricultural production. If one looks at our petrochemical production, Mr. Speaker, again, those levels are exceeding what they did years before. Same with the chemical industry, our electronics industry, our exports, Mr. Speaker, all of them are on the increase. And they're on the increase because of a number of economic initiatives and economic policies of this government. We're delighted that this province has been buffered from the worldwide recession. But we also acknowledge, as the honourable members have indicated opposite, that we are going through a world recession. And we're not totally isolated from it. And because of that, there are going to be some failures. But we're delighted to report that the success rate is that much greater than our failure rate.
Edmonton Whitemud.
From a speech given by the Premier to the Rotary Club. But I propose that there be a new condition that multiculturalism should not be a matter imposed by law in Canada. To the minister responsible for multiculturalism, do you agree or disagree with this statement made by the Premier of this province?
Well, member, better luck at trying to rephrase the question because all you're doing is asking an opinion of the minister. Look at Beauchesne.
Mr. Speaker, multiculturalism. Is he prepared to stand up in this House and say that he supports multiculturalism as it's imposed by legislation in this province?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to have the opportunity to again confirm my position and the Premier's position, I believe, were he here would confirm this. The government's position, as stated in the current bill that was passed by this Assembly in 1990, in the ongoing programs that we commit to through our Multiculturalism Commission, that, Mr. Speaker, the government of Alberta is committed to maintaining a strong, diverse population. We're committed to helping all Albertans, whether they've been here for 5 minutes or 5 generations, achieve everything that this great province has to offer. There is no suggestion made by anyone that our department or the laws are going to be repealed, that our protection for individuals under the Individual Rights Protection Act is going to be repealed. No suggestion that programs are going to be modified in any way to leave people out. In fact, Mr. Speaker, what we're doing in the current year and in the upcoming year is to expand our reach in our multicultural programs to include everyone. It's a notion that has not been done by anyone before. The Liberal Party is famous for ethnic multiculturalism.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Thank you. We have to leave a little bit of time for supplementary. Let's have it, please.
To the minister responsible for multiculturalism, are you prepared to go on record stating that you are prepared to support those...
Interrupt your flow. You do not use the word you in here. You talk about is the minister prepared? Thank you.
Is the minister prepared to stand up and support multiculturalism in the sense that the minister stands behind the laws that govern multiculturalism in this country and in this province?
Here, I have done exactly that on no less than half a dozen public occasions in the last few weeks. I've done it in this House on Friday, I did it on Monday, and I'm doing it again today. Mr. Speaker, I don't know how many more times I have to do it before the member from Edmonton Whitemud understands this. But, Mr. Speaker, the answer to his question is, again, yes.
Thank you. Edmonton Beverly.
My questions are to the Minister of Health. Every quadrant of the city of Edmonton except Northeast Edmonton has a hospital. The result is that the emergency ward is overloaded now, and even in the future when the expansion is completed, I think they will still be continuing to be overloaded. We also have the Fort Saskatchewan Hospital with services northeast, but also is failing to be able to carry the load that's required. My question to the Minister, Mr. Speaker, is will the Minister of Health now agreed that Northeast Edmonton is in serious need of a health facility, and will she commit some form of a 24-hour care to our quadrant of the city?
Sure.
Mr. Speaker, I think given the growth that has occurred in Northeast Edmonton, certainly we need to look at ensuring appropriate access to health services for citizens of Edmonton living in that area. I don't support a freestanding hospital being built in the area, but I do believe that the proposals coming forward via the Royal Alexandra Hospital to look at some options that may be possible are appropriate. And when I receive those, hopefully sometime this spring, I will be in a better position to answer the honourable member as to the kinds of options that may be considered to provide the access. I think I put forward, however, a note of caution that just having a facility doesn't necessarily mean access to health services. I think our primary goal must be access in whatever form we might contemplate, and new form we might contemplate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Minister, for that reply. Mr. Speaker, the facility that I'm suggesting doesn't need to be a full-sized hospital. It could be a 24-hour community center with the ability to handle minor emergencies. The minister must be aware that this caucus, the Democratic Caucus, has for years sponsored the cause for community health care centers. The question to the minister, is there any good reason why this government wouldn't try the obvious alternative, that is to develop a community health care pilot project and to do it in Northeast Edmonton?
Hear, hear.
Mr. Speaker, I think the ND caucus need to look at the economics of health. I know they are all under the impression from what I've read of their presentation that by adding on a community health center we will be saving health resources. The only way we are going to be saving health resources is if we reallocate resources from existing health facilities into community facilities. I'm a strong proponent of that, but an add-on is not something I am a proponent of. That's why I'm working with and am aware, rather, of the Royal Alexandra looking at the possibility of some kind of form which is not standalone to serve the needs of Northeast Edmonton, and I will await the presentation which I understand is coming this spring.
First, there are two important matters to be dealt with before we get around to the request for Standing Order 40. The first one is this, that throughout the course of today, and I believe also yesterday, we've had the comments, shouts across the chamber about some questions being puffballs. I'd remind honourable members that every member here has the right to be heard in this assembly and to be heard without interruption. The other part of it is that this is not figure skating contest where we're going to put up a sign for a 6.5 or whatever as to the quality of the question, no matter which part of the House in which it originates. So I would ask that honourable members please refrain from such types of comments, because all it does indeed is encourage others then to interrupt yourself when you're into the process, and that really isn't being fair to you or to your constituents. Now, yesterday we had an occurrence occur. I guess most occurrences do occur, don't they? We had an event occur in the foyer of the legislature. It was raised as a point of order by the Minister of Career Development and Employment. And so it is that I'd like to read to the House the following statement. A disruptive and vocal demonstration did indeed take place just as members were entering the House yesterday and continued while the House was in session. During a conversation on another matter, the honourable member for Edmonton Mill Woods advised the chair that the participants in the demonstration had been guests in his office prior to the House. Order. The chair was also advised that Edmonton Millwoods cautioned the group that demonstrations were not allowed within the legislature building and that other avenues of protest could be utilized. The member expressed his disappointment to the chair at the disruptive behavior of his visitors. Upon further investigation, it appears that this group of protesters was responsible for arranging the surreptitious entry of concealed banners and possibly subverted security by arranging for other persons to enter via other doors where entry is prohibited for use by the general public for legitimate security reasons. The chair is quite concerned at the extent of the security breach, as the office of the Speaker is responsible for the safety of all members while in attendance during session. Unfortunately, because the Speaker's security staff are not in control of the perimeter of the precincts of this Parliament, which they are partially charged to protect, the chair may find it difficult to prevent further security breaches which could and should properly be dealt with by Legislative Assembly security staff, as is the case in many other parliaments. Erskine May at page 126 states, quote, that it is a gross breach of the privilege of this House for any person to obstruct and insult the members of this House in the coming to or going from the House. And again, members and others have been punished for such molestation occurring within the precincts of the House, whether by assault or insulting or abusive language or outside the precincts, close of quote. Parliamentary law upholds the absolute sanctity of a member's unrestricted right of access and egress from the precincts of Parliament 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. All honourable members are well aware of the privileges accorded to them as members to guarantee their attendance, so much so that a member is immune from certain legal processes to protect the member's absolute right to attend to their parliamentary duties. Anyone violating this most sacred of privileges can be held in gross contempt of the House. The chair was dismayed to see and hear a chanting crowd not outside the building, but inside the building, and virtually at the foot of the steps directly accessing the chamber. The group conducted themselves in a manner that violated virtually everything that a member has the right to expect when called to attend the chamber. The protesters intimidated and hindered some members in their right of unrestricted access to the chamber. The Solicitor General was placed in a most difficult position. The Solicitor General's Department controls the perimeter of the building and are responsible for the general supervision of demonstrations. Under ordinary circumstances, the Solicitor General's staff would have removed the demonstrators from the inside of the building. However, the demonstrators were dealing with the Solicitor General in a personal manner rather than in his administrative capacity. Therefore, the departmental staff did not take action to remove the demonstrators from the rotunda. The chair recognizes and reaffirms that demonstrators have the right to protest outside of Parliament. As the administrative officer in charge of the protection of all members of this House, the chair found the safety and free access of members unacceptably compromised yesterday. The chair declares yesterday's action to be a gross contempt of the privileges of this assembly. In the final analysis, it is the members, it is you collectively, we collectively, who should ultimately be the ones in charge of our own security in our own legislative building through the Speaker and Sergeant-at-Arms. It is the members who must resolve this matter of security jurisdiction to prevent further occurrences of yesterday's incident and the contempt of this House. Thank you. Standing Order 40 requests. Someone is going to move this from the Liberal caucus, I understand, on behalf of Calgary McKnight. Westlock Sturgeon.
I'd like to rise on behalf of the member for Calgary McKnight and propose a motion that resolved that the Legislative Assembly expressed its sympathy to the Kurdish community regarding the recent killing of members of the Kurdish community in Turkey. Mr. Speaker, the Kurdish people have suffered for many years without a homeland, and we're demonstrating, of course, the Kurdish and the Turkish police possibly overreacting, killed 26, as we saw in the TV and other news coverage of the event. My purpose, or our purpose moving the motion, is not to interfere with the internal policing, you might say, of another country, but to try to drive home to the international community that the rule of law has to take place. The rule of law has to eventually be the only type of action that takes place when minorities demonstrate in any country. To say it is in another country, that we are interfering with another country, Mr. Speaker, is not proper. It means we're derelict in our duty, because all mankind are brothers and sisters, and there's no need. And I think if we do not take this stand, that wherever people are discriminated against or hurt in the world, it's our business at least to register in a form of a motion or an expression that we find it very reprehensible indeed. Thank you.
Standing Order 40 request, again, members of the House are well aware of it, but those persons who may be viewing this matter, this is not the matter of the validity of the motion. It's a matter of urgency of debate that is taking place here. All those in favor of allowing the matter to proceed on the basis of urgency, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried. Thank you. Westlock Sturgeon, do you wish to make additional comments to the motion?
Very little I could do to enlarge on what I said earlier. It is just our wish that this House, which apparently it has already by approving at least the urgency of the thing, go on record as disapproving the use of force to keep any minority from exercising their opinions and their rights in any country. I realize that that's as far as it goes, but when it goes that far in every nation, we've just seen in the example of South Africa what a restriction, or you might say a moral and trade restriction that admittedly took nearly 2 generations to take hold, but it did take place. It did go. It did it. We did it. The rest of the world did it without force, did it without starving people, without beating people, and it brought around. And I think if we're ever going to get the rule of law to take place, we have to notice things like this that go on, not to assess the correctness or the incorrectness of the minority, whether to demonstrate it or not, but to censor the majority for using force and trying to subjugate or to try to kill dissent in any country. Thanks.
Call for the question. Motion is before the House. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Motion carries. Let the record show unanimously. The chair will also be in contact with Calgary McKnight to find out where the appropriate notification is to be sent. Orders of the day.
Consideration of His Honor the Lieutenant Governor's speech. Debate adjourned.